You're right on time because Orange Juice in the Kitchen is about to get started. We're your hosts. I'm Annie Graff.
And I'm Maggie Jensen. Pull up a chair because the OJ is flowing and it's about to get juicy.
We're getting deep in our convos about sobriety and mental health because that's how we've both found deep love for ourselves and the lives we live.
And when you love yourself in your life, there's nothing to escape. This is the real on how vibrant and colorful alcohol freedom feels. So grab your glass.
Cheers, besties. Let's chat. What is up, you guys? It is your girl Annie and
Maggie. I'm here with ya.
And you're listening to OJ in the Kitchen. And we got a really cool topic for you guys because something just in real time is happening and just happened with me. And I wanted to bring it to you guys. So Maggie and I literally just decided to press record because I just got back from a weekend in Dallas. And if you guys know anything about me, my life, I moved to Scottsdale back in September, but I was living in Dallas for the last 3 years. And I just did a little trip back there. And, I had so many revelations, so many good epiphanies and moments and conversations that I thought were so beautiful because the last time I really was living the Dallas life, which now actually I'm coming to realize it was just the life I chose to live in Dallas. But the way I was living in Dallas was heavily ingrained in the partying, drinking, social world of Dallas. And it was consuming for me. So even the last 8 months, so 2023 is when I started my sobriety journey. And those 8 months or 9 months, whatever that is, were me sticking to myself. I was in prep for my bodybuilding shows. I was 100% sober. And I really kind of just said peace out to the old lifestyle I was living. And it looked a lot different than the previous 2 years of my living in Dallas. So I wanted to bring that to you guys. And like I said, I just gave Maggie the deep dive on all the deets. So I'm not going to go that deep with you guys, but we kind of wanted to touch back on a few parts of the story because if anyone's out there potentially considering sobriety, maybe you're sober curious, or maybe you're new into your sobriety journey, or maybe you've been on it, there is something I really want to focus on. It is the idea that sometimes we like to take the easy route and blame people, relationships, social circles, environments, jobs, bosses. We like to blame a lot of these external realities on our problems, right? Or I guess vice versa. We like to blame our problems on these external things. Mm-hmm. And that's really easy to do, right? Because then if you don't have control over it, you can't fix it. So it's a really easy route to take because you're like, this is just the way life is. This is just the way Dallas is. This is just the way these people are. It's them. And wow, they make me so, party. They make me want to party. They make me want to drink. They make me get drunk. They make me live this lifestyle. They make me sleep in on the weekends. It makes it hard to get to my workout. It makes it hard to prioritize health. And it's this is why I am the way I am. And the thing I really want to bring to you guys this episode is just a different way to look at this. And it's kind of how I'm looking back in the last year and a half of my life is that, if you want to take back some control, for me, diving into sobriety was that, but it looked a little bit different than what you might expect. For me, I stayed in the same quote unquote environment. I was in Dallas and I just simply kind of had to remove myself from a lot of that environment, people, relationships, places I used to frequent. And I was like, you know what? Let me take some time. Let me do some work. Let me figure out what the hell is going on with me. And I prioritize finding my footing, finding my foundation, finding the confidence, honestly, in myself And then this past weekend, going back to Dallas since moving away, since now being over a year in my sobriety journey, um, I really didn't know what to expect because my last kind of interactions with a lot of these people, places, things were with the old version of Annie. And I didn't know what it really would feel like to be fully present, fully confident, fully this new me that I freaking love so much, tapping back into old environments and old people and old relationships. And spoiler alert, it was absolutely incredible. It was so good. And the thing I really just want to let you guys kind of start this story with the mindset of is that sometimes it's not the people, the place, the environment, the things, the bosses, the job, the whatever you're blaming it on. Sometimes it's you. And as kind of uncomfy as that might be to hear, I think it's also a place of accountability. And it's like, okay, well, if it's not them and if it's me, that means I'm in control. And that's a really powerful place to be, because once you realize you have control, you get to decide what you do next. And for me, it meant taking a step back from all that and going a little MIA.
Mm-hmm.
And, it wasn't with any negativity in mind. It was just purely from the place of like, hey, I need to do the work for me. And, I think that work is really important. And I think it's really cool, again, for anybody maybe that's in their sobriety journey, if you've noticed, cut friendships, a distance from places you used to go, different environment, new city, maybe new job, new whatever. It can be really like, honestly, this weekend was probably cathartic is the word that comes to mind for me, because it was like, wow, it really wasn't these people, this place, this city. It really was me. And because I fixed, I don't want to say fixed because there was nothing wrong with me. I improved. I leaned into growth. I took control over me, tapping back into those people, places, and things. It was just like beautiful to see. No, these things are beautiful. I was just a little bit of a broken version of myself. Mm-hmm. And I was placing blame on them when it really was it kind of, not to sound like, conceited, but it was about me. It was about me. And anyway, gosh, like I said, I took a deep dive and told Maggie all the things, and I know Maggie has some of her own takeaways from that, but I want you guys to kind of have that perspective to start off,
Yeah. And as we were kind of diving in, I like to consider it like my Annie after action reports. I always like to hear like all the deets, spill the beans. And, as she was reflecting, so often we do together, reflecting on like our journeys, we kind of look at our timelines, although they were very different. They have very similar strings throughout. Was, we were stuck in these environments that we kind of used as, this is the circumstance of why I do what I do. Me coming from Topeka, Kansas, where it was not party central, but it was definitely drinking. Really, one of my key factors in my sobriety success was that the timing lined up for me to move away, for me to get out of that environment and spend time with myself. And, Annie and I talk about this a lot. The kind of where people often go awry when we're talking with them is they shelve alcohol, but they continue to put themselves in that same environment, wondering, why am I not having fun? Why am I not confident here? And it's really about taking that time to be selfish, where you go MIA and you don't have any shame about it. You just say, I need to get to know who I am. And who's to say that in 3 months, 6 months, a year, you can't return to that environment with a brand new energy. And in fact, Annie is proof of that as we go through this story. I'm proof of that. Our TSC members are proof of that. And when you do that solid foundational work that teaches you who you are, you get to know yourself, you show up with different energy. And it's just like, no wonder I wasn't having any fun when I would try to go sober and then go put myself in the same circles with people. And I didn't have any different reflections because I hadn't created, a little bit science talk, hadn't created my own internal environment. Like our internal environment will dictate our experience in our external environment. And when we don't change that, we'll oftentimes just show up thinking there's something wrong with us. And that was not the case this past weekend for you. Like, as she was sharing all the things she's about to dive into, I was just like, yes, yes, yes. Like so many green flags from the universe saying, you're doing it right. You're doing it right, girl. You're doing it for you. Here's all of the green flags. So I'm really excited. I love hearing all of these wins. And I think they, this is just things that you've experienced within your first year. They continue to stack up.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's so crazy. And, just even as Maggie was talking just now, you guys, like what's coming to me is like the weekend I just had in Dallas. If I tried to do this in like my first or second weekend of sobriety, and this is where the cycle of like, I'm going to try to quit alcohol. Okay. Lasted 3 days. Fuck that, and this constant, like, it's not working. It's not working. I can't do it. I guess I just can't live without alcohol. I can't live without partying. I can't live without, chasing the high, chasing the chaos. That's why that kept happening, because I tried to have a weekend like I did just now, on day one of sobriety. And what I want you guys to understand is like, that time away is so important. And this is why one of the biggest pillars, and like the first pillar that when we created the sober experiment, was that the focus needs to be elsewhere. You need a shift. Something needs to change. And this is what we focus on so heavily within our program, even is like, okay, so you're sober curious. Okay, so you have fears around what that looks like. Okay, we get it. Your whole life, or maybe not even your whole life, but maybe a large aspect of your life involves these people, these habits, these, toxic patterns. And if that's the case, we're going to not make that the focus. We're not going to sit here and think about all those things. While, yes, that might be the what's coming up in your external world is kind of how we put it. But like Maggie just said, we need to focus on the internal world. We need to focus on, what can we control right now, and where can I shift my energy and put my energy where it'll create new patterns for me. It'll create new habits. It'll create new friendships. It'll create new hobbies. Maybe, can I try, and this is kind of where my sobriety journey started, was like, all right, when's the last time I really was able to stay away from alcohol? And it was in a bodybuilding prep. I was like, you know what? Let me put my energy back in there. Let me shift my season a little bit. And I know the past, few years of heavy drinking, of going out, of partying, and I know mentally, physically, emotionally, it's not serving me. So let me focus elsewhere. And I know shifting that focus can be scary. And one of the things Maggie and I were actually just talking about before we hit record was like, a lot of it comes from like the fear of the people, not fear of the people in our life, but the fear of their reactions, fear of abandonment, fear of, wow, are they going to think I'm stupid? Are they going to think I'm like weak because I can't handle my alcohol like they apparently can? Are they going to think I'm mad at them because I don't want to hang out with them? Are they going to end our friendship? Are they going to talk bad about me? So we put so much fear and emphasis on their reactions and how they're going to take this, that we just don't do it, because the unknown, honestly, and all of that is unknown. You're making up these stories in your head of like what it's going to look like for you to try out this new sobriety thing. And you're coming up with like, oh my God, well, this could happen. This could happen. This could happen. Okay. All that seems scary. So I'm just going to keep on with what do they say? Like the devil is better than the devil you don't.
Yep.
It's like, you would rather stay in the hurt and the pain and the suffering and the, mental turmoil that you're putting yourself through in your current habits and patterns than experiment with new ones. But that's exactly what we do in TSE, is we shelf the old. And not to say, again, like the whole premise of this story kind of is the fact that you don't need to throw away the people, the environments, the things that potentially right now aren't serving you. It's that you need to shelve it you need to do the work on you. You need the time, the space, and
Mhm.
the displacement even of removing yourself from those things for a time so that you can shift, you can develop a new internal dialogue with yourself, a new image of self, new confidence, new hobbies and passions, and even, I mean, personality traits, and more so reconnect with those personality traits that maybe haven't been coming out when alcohol and drinking and partying and that has been a part of your life. Reconnect with this different side of yourself that's been a little MIA.
Mhm.
And to do that, you might have to go MIA to go find them, right? So,
Mhm.
that's what I really did in from January of 2023 until now. And in going back to Dallas this weekend, just to give you guys a little like rundown, like Friday I had a friend's birthday, and literally I was like, okay, like it was a get together pregame. I drinking was happening the whole time. I mean, and that's one thing is like, in finding this footing and foundation and really building confidence in the sober side of me, um, I'm able to be around that without any discomfort or
Yes.
self
Yes.
questioning. Yeah, right. Like I wouldn't honestly, I wasn't able to do that at first. And I think if anybody's out there just starting, like absolutely no pressure for you to be like, oh my God, Annie said she can do that. I
Yeah, it
didn't.
doesn't happen overnight. I don't think I was comfortable.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was quarantine for me. Like there were house parties, incognito house parties, but it was easy for me to like act like I was just so freaked out by COVID that, oh, I can't go because I did not want to be around it. I honestly, at that point, I still didn't trust myself, not necessarily because of the alcohol, but because of peer pressure. And I was so afraid. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes how afraid I was of like being around it, being back in that old environment, and how automatic it would have felt to just be like, oh, I know I've been working really hard, but I could just have one and then
Yeah.
go right back to it. And, what we live and we preach it, but it's because we've experienced it, this ability to not let that external environment change our decision making of like,
Yeah.
you're going to share all of the alcohol that you were around all weekend long. And it was never a temptation. It was, oh, I'm having fun.
Mhm.
I'm enjoying, and I'll let you tell everything that you were enjoying because it's so beautiful. And I think people oftentimes lose sight of like, what else is there other than drinking when it comes to social gathering? And that's what I really got from your stories. So
Yeah, and just you saying that, a thing that came to mind was a repeated pattern is a pattern that will be repeated, right? Like, so especially in the beginning phases of sobriety, the most comfortable pattern that you know of is typically that is the drinking, right? Or whatever you're trying to get away from. So it's like if you put yourself back into places where that is the pattern and that is what's happening around you, and you haven't developed new patterns and new habits that are also connected to self-worth and happiness and fulfillment and satisfaction and joy,
right.
happiness,
Yeah.
if you don't have any new patterns to like get you to those things, you're going to revert back to the old patterns that temporarily get you that, oh well, I'm fine, like I'm okay, now I'm
Mhm.
forgetting everything, now I'm kind of numb, now I'm social, now I'm like, I don't really care,
Yeah.
oh now I'm drinking, I'm 2 drinks in, so who cares now, and okay, now this is enjoying. But if that has been the pattern, especially in certain environments around certain people doing certain things, then putting yourself back in there thinking, well, now I have the thought that I want to be sober. So I'm just going to power through. I'm just going to do these things that I know I love with this new mindset of no alcohol. It's going to be like, you're going to get there and it's going to feel so confusing. It's going to be like, wait, what? Like, wait, just talk to talk or just watch, like just sit around,
Yeah.
dance, fully aware of what my body's doing at all time. Like, if you haven't established anything different, you're going to revert back to the same. And so, the biggest thing I've realized is that it's going to take time to develop those new patterns. Guys, your drinking habits didn't happen overnight. They didn't
Right.
happen within a day. And So neither will your sobriety patterns, your sobriety habits. They're not going to happen overnight. They're not going to happen within a day. So what do you got to do? You got to be and put yourself in a place where you can gain traction and gain confidence in new patterns, new habits, to be able to show up as this new version of yourself, to then maybe, if it feels right and aligned, be like, hey, now I'm so confident. And this is where I was this weekend, was like, I'm genuinely so damn confident in who I am without alcohol, who I am without Party Annie, who I am fully soberly Annie, authentic me, that I don't really, I know that none of that's going to be an issue, but I want to see what it feels like to be in this old place that only old Annie used to vibe in, and see what new Annie does. And that was the mindset I really had going into this weekend, because I do have really close friendships and really meaningful connections with people in Dallas, and Dallas in general just has a strong place in my heart. And I really wanted to not just throw that away and be like, that was an old me thing. And so, yeah, going into this weekend, you guys, like, I was talking to Maggie about this. I was like, there was never a point where I was like, oh my God, who am I going to be around these people? Like, am I going to be able to be confident? Am I going to be insecure? Am I going to be funny? Am I going to be boring? Like, I have no questions about me, because I've established who me is. I know I'm fucking hilarious. It's dependent on if you're going to laugh at my joke or not, but I know I'm hilarious. I know I'm confident. I know I can talk to people. I know I'm social. I know I'm positive and energetic. I know all these things about myself, because in the last, 13, 14 months now, I've met me and I've spent time with me, and also made new connections and like affirming experiences. I've had affirming experiences in this version of me that, like, I'm like, oh, this is me. Straight up, this is me. There's no jumping back and forth between identities, certain identities around certain people. It's like, this is me. This is all of me. It's what I'm bringing to the table. Let's go. The only question I really did have, and I chatted with Maggie about this before getting on my flight to Dallas, was like, I just wonder, like, how this version of me is going to be accepted. Like, and there was no, like, there wasn't fear around it. It was just this like curiosity of like, I wonder what this is gonna, feel like being around people that, and not to say like there wasn't like no contact with these people. Like, I've stayed in touch. I've stayed, in contact and communication with a lot of these friends and these people, in different capacities. Right. But it was more like, what's this going to feel like, spending a night celebrating a birthday, going to a pregame, going out to a club, what's going to feel like the next day, going to like a bottomless brunch sort of vibe. What's that going to feel like, around people that are going to take advantage of the bottomless, and I'm not. What's that going to feel like? What's going to feel like to potentially hop around? And my old habits in Dallas would be like, all right, you start drinking at 10, 11, and you keep it rolling until 6, 7, 8, and then you go back and change, maybe let the dog out, and then you hit the clubs and continue on until 4 or 5, 6 a.m. like that. And straight up, that was my routine. Wow.
Yeah, that's copy and paste every night. Yeah.
Like that just cringed me. So now for me, and again, absolutely no judgment on anybody that's still their current routine. I think, going through this journey on my own has just made me realize that like everyone's on their own journey. Everyone's at a different place in it. Honestly, everyone has kind of different reasons for why they're at where they're at, whether they're taking responsibility, taking action and accountability on that. Totally up to them. And then based on how they're showing up and how I show up and how those two people meet, and what that feels like, then I get to decide like, oh yeah, that's actually like, that's a relationship that old Annie loved and vibed with and was so into. But now, like, this new version of Annie and this person or these people, this place, they haven't become a new version. So there's no connection there. And I'm not going to lie, like I had one or two instances of this weekend, but for the most part, it was so beautiful to see that that wasn't the case all across the board. Um, and so going into this weekend and just kind of experiencing it, one of the things that like before I was even there, the joy I got knowing I was planning and contacting and communicating with so many people about all different plans I was having. It was like each day, I'm like, Saturday, all right, who's going to work out? I'm going to work out with this person Saturday morning. I'm going to walk with this person. Then I'm going to go to brunch with these people. And then we're going to hop over here and we're going to meet up with these people. And then later that night, I'm going to have time. I'm going to get my, coffee with this person. And then, okay, I'm going to next day walk with this person, work out with this person, coffee here, church with this person, then dinner over here. And like, I had so much time.
Yes.
Activities and good quality time with amazing humans because I wasn't at the back of my head being like, oh, nah, don't sign me up for Saturday morning plans. I don't know how Friday night Annie is going to be. Or, oh, church Sunday. Oh, I don't know what my vibe is going to be. Let's like TBD on that one. Like it's this like when you're established in who you are and who you are is who you show up as constantly, especially in sobriety, there's not really a question. Like, I know I have energy in the morning. I know I love moving my body. I know I love grabbing a good lunch with somebody. I know I love going to church and feeling my heart filled and my soul fueled. And I know I love walks and I love talking with people. And so I know I love all these things. So then if I connect that with somebody who also loves that, I'm there for it. Like there's no question of like, ooh, am I going to bail on them?
Right.
Shouldn't even make plans in the first place. Let me just see what feels right in the moment. Like it really was like, oh, well, I know how I'm going to show up because that's how I've been showing up the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 months.
Yeah.
That like, there's no question. And that was a huge, just like excitement point for me and just even planning this trip, because in the past I've planned trips, and how many of you guys out there, no judgment, no shame here, but I used to plan trips and be like, awesome, I know day one I'm going to get there. Here's the first thing on the agenda. Okay, and then sometime in the week that we're here, I want to maybe get that hike in at some point. I don't know what day, just at some point. And then maybe I want to hit that restaurant at some point. I don't know when. And then also I want to do that one thing at some point. I don't know when, and I would be so vague about those plans because I truly didn't know, like, oh, is that going to be a day I'm going to start with mimosas? Or is that going to be a day where everyone's kind of chill and I'm kind of going to have to lean into that chill vibe? Maybe then I'll do the hike that morning, but then the next day, I don't know. Will I be drinking till 2 a.m., 3 a.m.? Or, like there were so many question marks.
Yeah.
Do you vibe with that? Like, do you feel the same?
Yeah, as you were talking about it, it just brought up like this sense of self-trust in a weird way. It's like when I would plan trips, I would overcommit. And in the back of my mind, I was like, we'll see if I'm hungover, Maggie, if I'm sick as a dog, Maggie, or if I'm waking up drunk still, Maggie. Like they were all kind of in the air, which I couldn't put my finger on this back in the day. But now I can see that there was this looming cloud over every trip that I took of like, is this trip going to be good? Because I don't know how I'm going to feel day to day. But the only thing that I know I'm going to be doing is drinking, which means, again, I don't trust my decision making and my follow through.
Yeah.
And we talk about trust and like confidence so much between the two of us and then with the sober experimenters. And I think so many people have this weird perception of confidence and self-trusting. Like confidence is like, oh, I look in the mirror and I look good. And like, it's just what my reflection is. But this kind of confidence is something so intangible, something only you can feel when you experience it, of like, oh, I'm planning this trip and I know that all of these things that I'm doing, like they're going to happen. It's like you can sense that you're manifesting them in the moment because you make a decision without that looming cloud of like, I don't know. Will I basically shit on my own parade? Or am I gonna be able to manage myself appropriately to like pull my shit together and show up with a hangover, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's like this is kind of going off, maybe not, but like sober travel in general had such a scary vibe for me. But now it's like, wow, I would never want to travel as old Maggie anymore. Like, I don't want to go back to old environments and have that same mentality because I'll just end up doing that same thing. It's like, no, I can go to that same environment. I can go home and visit and have a completely different experience now because I have different expectations for myself.
Mhm.
Before, I didn't know what to expect, except for I'm probably not going to do some shit that I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And now it's that confidence and self-trust. I mean, we feel that day to day when we make decisions on our weekly routines, but kind of extrapolating that to travel, it's just like such a good sensation. As you were saying that, I was like, God, I know what that means. Like when we plan trips and I'm like, I'm not going to waste my money going somewhere to be passed out, hungover in the hotel room the whole time.
Mhm.
What?
Yeah. Or even like our idea of what a good time is now. That's the other thing. It's like
Mhm.
my idea of what a good time is no longer revolves around alcohol in any capacity. Like, if every single person I wanted to be in touch with this weekend were not consuming alcohol, like it would have been amazing. The fact that alcohol was involved, great, fine, honestly irrelevant. And the way I enjoy my time with people or my time doing activities is so centered around like the conversation, the vibe, the yeah, like how am I moving my body? Am I like am I tired? Do I need a different, like, do I need something else? Am I hungry? Like it's like, what do I want in this moment? Yeah, but like it's no longer like, oh my God, wait, there's no drinks at this dinner. Okay, so how drunk
That's
should I?
going to be lame.
Yeah, like I don't know if I want to go there. I'd rather like stay, at the hotel with so and so because I know they'll probably drink. Like it just totally changes what I view as enjoyable. And it's cool to see that like I can still do the things and get enjoyment out of these other things, even when alcohol is part of the picture. It didn't taint my enjoyment, like, which
Right.
is really, really cool. That was like, the question mark that I kind of had, just because as I've been establishing this new version of myself and tapping into new relationships, new friendships, new environments, new hobbies and things, like it's connected me with more people that are like-minded. But to then go back and again, like just the idea of like tapping back into old environments where old you used to hang out, it's like, like, did I enjoy that or was that just the alcohol? Like, have you
Yeah.
have you ever heard that or seen that like meme, or I don't know, some girl on TikTok did this, but she was like, I love every date that I'm on. And she's like, I realized um it has absolutely nothing with anybody sitting across the table from me. I just enjoy me. Like it's just me. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
fun. She's like, I'm funny. I'm there. I'm loving whatever is happening. I'm telling stories, like, asking questions. Like I bring the joy. And it's
Mhm.
kind of like what I felt, going into this weekend. I was like, wow, like I'm going to have fun because it's me. And it's a plus that I get to do that with, these people around me. But yeah, and touching on that kind of relationship aspect of that is that throughout this weekend, this was something I was sharing with Maggie before we hit record, is like, I had so many just quality conversations with people who let me know, which again, this is so cool just to have this level of like vulnerability in friendships where people came up to me and were just like, girl, like you doing you. Cause to be honest, and to preface this a little bit, like I had a little bit of like not insecurity, but again, more of that curiosity of like, how did how did people perceive me going MIA for a little bit? Like, was there resentment? Was there anger? Was there fear? Was there abandonment on their end, being like, Annie just up and left?
Mhm.
I do think the fact that I am present on social media and I have been documenting this journey so heavily, and talking about my takeaways, my experiences, my mindset, my thoughts as I have been going throughout this journey, it's allowed people an insight into what I was doing, where that allowed them to see, oh, no, 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 it's not me. It's not our friendship. It's not our friend circle. It's just she's doing some work, And my little, tip or nudge to you guys, if a sober journey is in your horizons or if you're in the middle of it, is like, you don't need to be all over social media sharing everything like I do. No, not at all. Honestly, a
Right.
lot of what I do is because I do love communicating things and figuring out how to put experiences into words, but that doesn't have to be how you share and show it. But I would encourage you to communicate what your thoughts are to people who you feel are worthy of understanding.
Mhm.
And I say that so that if these people in relationships are people in relationships that you want to potentially tap into after you spend your time doing your thing and doing your work and deep diving into you, that at least they understand, like, oh, I know she's been working on her, and I know that it's not just me, and I know she's been kind of like going absent from a lot of old things. So there's no question mark there. I'm such a fan of like just communication in general.
Mhm.
So that is why I think it was so okay for me to re-enter into these social situations and circles and friendships without feeling like, oh my God, they don't know anything about me now, which could have been the case if I just like completely went black and dark.
Right.
Um, but I do think that communication is worthwhile, if anything, cathartic and therapeutic for you to try to express what you're going through in words. That can be really healing and healthy, without the expectation of like, okay, I'm going to tell them all the where I'm at and all what I'm going through, and then I need them to understand it. I need them to be on the same page as me, and I need them to accept me, and I need them to be along here with me. Like, no, not at all. And that's kind of like a little bit of the detachment benefit that I
Yeah.
get from social media, is that I can just kind of share that, and then people have the ability to be interested and curious and follow along, or simply be like, that version of her no longer interests me. I don't give a fuck. And if that's the case, great, awesome, bless and release, baby. But you know, I'm grateful to have people in my life who completely understood. And while we weren't in communication the entire duration of the last, year plus, they at least were so supportive and understanding. And, I've come to realize now, going back to Dallas this past weekend, that actually it was not a kick in the butt, I guess, but more of like a little bit of a, oh, wait, I have some work I can do on me too. Annie's kind of like, doing this stuff. I've been feeling kind of similar ways. I haven't really told anybody, but I'm going to kind
Mhm.
of focus on my career, and while it wasn't sobriety for anybody else, I noticed in going back to Dallas and having really great conversations with people that a lot of my friends have had similar moments where they're like, oh, wow, like I really do want to, dial into my relationship, and I really do want to dial into my faith life. I really do want to dive into my career and my career progression and figure out, how do I get that next promotion? How do I show up better at work? Okay, that's going to look like spending time elsewhere. So, or friends that are like, wow, I want to dive into my fitness goals. Like, I've been letting that take a back seat, but Annie's over here, shifting her passengers in her car, if you will. That's an analogy there. So maybe I should too. And so I just want to remind you guys, like, your journey has the ability to inspire, excite, or
Mhm.
even just provoke thought for
Mhm.
people around you. And while you might think all of these negative thoughts about, oh my God, and a lot of times this is what holds people back, is the idea of the potential negative. We talked about that earlier of like that unknown. We oftentimes make up these stories of like, oh my God, well, if I just stop going out with them, they're going to think I'm just boring and they're going to think I'm awful and they're going to think I'm mad at them, or they're going to think I don't like our friendship. They're going to think I'm thinking I'm better than them, and they're going to think all these things. And oftentimes we go so quick to the negative, but what if we look at the positive of, wow, if I dial into myself and then I kind of communicate a little bit of my thoughts and understand that they're going to be on their own journey regardless. If I do that, what if they're like, oh, this kind of gives me the permission to do the same in whatever capacity feels right for them? I have come to realize that that is by far been truer than the
The
negative.
alternative. Yeah. The opposite end. Yeah. As you're talking, this is kind of a half-baked idea, but I'm sure you can fill in the patches. We're always on the same brainwaves, but you showing the inspiring side, the uplifting side, that internal work, you just being so open with your journey and documenting every step of the way, people respond to that accordingly. But what if every time you talked about sobriety, when you did communicate it, you were saying, this is so hard. There are moments like that, right? There's moments where we had, this is so hard. I don't know if I'll ever find myself. I don't know what to do for fun. If we're only expressing and communicating those ideas to our friends, they're going to want to help us. And most likely, if they're drinkers, they're going to say, well, just come out with us. And they're not trying to backtrack us any, or they're not trying to have any malice towards us, but their program and their kind of conditioning is like, well, if she's not enjoying sobriety, then let me try to cheer her up and help her maybe manage her drinking better. We'll go out, we'll be like accountability buddies. And it can kind of fall back into these same old patterns. And you keep feeding this idea of, yeah, I'm never going to have fun without it. But I think something that Annie and I have both done is we are very selective in who we bring in for the support that we need. Today I had this moment. I had this, like, we honestly don't really have these anymore, but like this moment I thought about alcohol. We'll share that, but we don't share that with everybody because that's our own journey. And what we want everybody to see is, the beautiful results that honestly trump those tiny moments, those fleeting moments of like, oh, is this worth it? I don't know. It's hard. The first 3 months, especially, it's like what you share is what other people will get from it and how they will treat you. And so just, be selective, have that really strong inner circle, but then, really just building that relationship to yourself so that you can see, okay, it's not just these small painful moments, it's everything beautiful in between. And something that came to mind with like, I know we were, sharing quotes and everything. The quote that came to mind is, don't be concerned with your reputation. It's not located within you. And for me, it was like that time apart and choosing who to talk to about the hard times versus who do I share the beauty with. It's like, I had to recreate my own self-reputation of like, releasing that party girl Maggie and then saying, I am fun. That's my reputation. I am social. I am funny. I am magnetic and positive. And when we are like questioning if we are, that's just an indication that we haven't decided we are yet. And that's what happens in that alone time when we kind of ghost a little bit so that we can create our own interpretation of ourselves so that when we show up, what people think about us doesn't affect us as much, but we also can see what people think about us is a reflection of how we carry ourselves and what we communicate. So I don't know really where I was going with that, but I feel like I was having epiphanies while you were talking. I'm like, oh my goodness.
No, and I love that because I think what you said about like, if you're disclosing like, okay, I'm struggling with this with somebody else who doesn't quite understand your journey or know what it is you're trying to achieve or trying to gain within yourself, you're so right. They're going to give you the solutions that they've come to lean on.
Yep.
And in this time alone, and honestly, even in the beginning, like, it was hard for me to even like quite understand that I was feeling a little lonely, because I I didn't even recognize how much like value I put on my experiences that surrounded alcohol. Like, and then when you remove that, it was like, oh my God, like I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. I, and this might sound like so like, okay, obviously, but I almost like didn't lean on anyone in the first few months, because I just wanted to understand what it felt like for myself, and I think the idea there, if that's something that terrifies you, of like, oh my God, like I just have to go through it on my own. And I'm not saying that, but I also know that I would guess a lot of people do struggle with finding that inner circle. And my inner circle, the circle I now consider really inner circle, which is a handful of, close family, you, and then like two friends that have known me for years, and maybe like one friend since. Like, I didn't even know the words to use with those people. And then like you and like one or two friends currently, I hadn't even met or really cultivated that relationship yet. So
Right.
it's like, it took me kind of accepting at the start of my sobriety journey of like, all right, whatever I'm going to feel in I don't know, question mark amount of months, at the end of the day, like, it is going to be temporary. And if I can at least like endure it and get to a point where I can at least understand it, because right now I don't, then maybe in understanding it, I can find a solution to it that feels better than what I've been using, been doing, been, jumping to. And then that's where we talk about this in TSC quite early in the program, actually, is like, I can start to rewire those habit loops, and
Mhm.
I can start to connect certain cravings and certain like needs that I have internally with, okay, I understand when I feel this way, typically what I would do is, go out with my girls and get drunk. And then, yeah, I'm going to feel a little happy, a little, connected, a little social. But ultimately that kept leading me to this like anxiety the next day, overwhelm, overthinking, exhaustion, not showing up for myself, letting other promises I made previously just completely be broken. Like,
Yep.
I'm going to get to the gym. I promise. I'm going to get to work early. I'm going to get this accomplished in the morning. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to, hit my macros today. Like, all those things went out the window. And ultimately it left me feeling like a fucking piece of shit,
Yeah.
And so that's what I was doing. But it's going to take time to rewire that and even like understand that you want to. So anyway, I say all this to say, this might seem scattered. Again, this is kind of like train of thought thinking here, but like, it's it's going to take time, and sometimes the only person you can rely on in those beginning moments are yourself.
Yep.
Is yourself, and that's honestly the most comforting realization I've come to in sobriety, is that I truly possess every answer, solution that I need within me without seeking external validation, external comfort, external affirmation. I get it here. And for everyone listening, like, I'm tapping my heart. And that's something that took time, because for so long I was chasing everything external that made me feel temporary happiness, satisfaction, and okayness.
Mhm.
I thought that, okay, the temporary okayness is going to have to do, because I don't know anything else exists. And I was so scared to spend time alone to figure that out. And so, for any, I don't know, I think a big point I'm trying to make is the time alone, it's so worth it. The work you do in that time alone is really important. And for anybody out there that maybe you think you've tried it before, and maybe trying looks like what we kind of talked about here earlier, is like, yeah, I decided to go back into this party environment with the mindset that I didn't want to drink. I told myself I didn't want to drink. I told myself I didn't want to be hungover tomorrow. I told myself these things, but you get to that environment and the only pattern you know to repeat is the one you've constantly leaned into. So that ends up that ends up being what happens. You
Mhm.
know, if that's been your, image of trying, that's okay. I mean, I've been there. We've been there. Maggie's been
Yep.
there. So many of our TSC members have been there, but it doesn't have to be what really trying and achieving looks like. And if you need more guidance and like just hand holding in that, because while I'm saying like that time alone needs to be spent alone and doing some work that nobody can really help
Do
you along
for
with,
you. Yeah.
yeah, do for you, that's a better way to put it, is like what we've created with the sober experiment is a space, a place, a community, guidance, a roadmap to what that looks like. So it doesn't have to be such a question mark. Cause I know a lot of maybe what we're talking about might seem vague or just like, okay, 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 I get it. But now I'm alone. Now I've distanced myself from those people. I decided I'm just gonna do the sobriety thing. And you're still kind of at a loss. Like
Mhm.
that's what we created the sober experiment to
Mhm.
help with,
Yeah.
to give you those answers to then implement and do on your own.
Right.
So, again, it's just like that time is so important to get to this place that I'm at now, Maggie's at now, so many of our TSC members are at now, is that confidence and the like so clear image of self and so abundant and joyful and like magnetic versions of who we are. I wouldn't be here if I didn't do that work and spend that time alone.
Yeah. And TSC really is like, going back to the inner circle, it would be like intentionally cultivating, investing in having that. Um, that's just, like you said, it just is beautiful to be able to bring these concepts to life with all of our members and see within the first few weeks of how, this alone time with the guidance and with the tools and resources, it really transforms how they think about alcohol, how they think about themselves, how they think about these social experiments or experiences, rather. Well,
Mhm.
experiments too. They're experimenting all the way. But yeah, like Annie said, it can sound really vague, but it takes more than just an hour-long podcast episode to really dig into all of it. But we're bringing more and more every week, and I just love, what Annie just mentioned about, creating that space to really creatively provide your own solutions. I think for a long time, it's so common for us as what I would say problematic drinkers to let other people create solutions for us. And we just go along for the ride to please them and to stay in their good graces. And that alone time helps you tap into like, okay, from my heart and soul, what would I do in this situation? How do I feel better? How do I have fun? What do I do to be funny? What do I talk about in my
Yeah.
brain? And it's like all these things have been shelved for so long. Now we're going to shelve alcohol and bring those processes forward. As a human being, we're the most creative mechanism on earth, and we create these solutions if we give ourselves space. But you won't be able to be acquainted with them until you get acquainted with the real you. And sometimes that means just peacing out for a little while. But we can always go back, and it feels so much better when you go back and you're like, ah, I am a new version of me and I'm having fun and I would have never expected this. And other people respond to that energy. And I can just like see you walking into the bars where, everybody's been drinking for 6 hours and you are just like shiny and glowy and you're ordering your Diet Coke and everybody's like, oh my God, Annie, you're here. Let's hang out. Like I could just see that and like how much fun you had when the old version of you would have been so terrified of going into that like white knuckling, don't order a drink. And it's just beautiful to see the proof in the pudding.
Yeah. And just a one sentence thought too is like the time spent alone is also time spent getting comfortable doing uncomfortable things.
Yep.
So that when you make that a pattern of like, hey, at the end of the day, I know I'm going to survive. I'm going to walk out of this uncomfy experience living, breathing, moving, and shaking it off and on to the next. It's like, there weren't really any moments where I felt uncomfortable, but old me would have felt uncomfortable being
Right.
sober in these environments, and knowing how to start conversation, knowing how to, pipe in jokes, knowing how to, say no to drinks when people didn't know that I'm not drinking, all those things I've learned along the way, and taking time to just be comfortable in the uncomfortable is exactly what I put into play this weekend. It was like, oh my God, okay, well, silence. Like, first off, I'm comfortable in silence, so no need to fill the void there. Um, oh, like someone wanted to throw a drink in my face. Oh no, girl. Oh my God, I'm totally fine. Thank you though. I got my Diet Coke. Or whatever that looks like. It's like I've spent time practicing being in those situations, so they aren't like, how do I act? How do I respond? What do I say?
Right.
How do I be? I need to do something with my hands, So I don't know. It's just like so much was done in that time that made this weekend just so beautiful in just so many ways. And guys, we literally said, we're like, let's do a 20-minute episode. And now we're going on an hour. So this could probably be broken down into so many different episodes, and there are already so many different like trains of thought. I'm like, oh, by the way, this, and by the way, this, but we'll bring these all to you guys in different episodes. We want to kind of tie a little bow on it here. And, first off, just say thanks for being here and being curious and being open-minded to a different perspective, or just to hear somebody's experience. And that's what we want to share and bring to you guys. But more so, additionally, I guess, is if you want the guided support, if you want what we're sharing here and you're just at a loss of where to find it, just know there is a place for you in the Sober Experiment, and we're going to link all the things below. So everything from like our product line, our product page, I guess, which has like downloadables and things you can run through on your own, worksheets, workbooks, all the sort. We'll link that. We'll also link our link, attach the link to the self-starter program. So this is something you can really get access to everything we work through the 12 weeks of the Sober Experiment, but just do it on your own and in your own timeline, and, get it done as fast as you want, and, go through it. This is really for like people that are self-starters and really like are like, yo, I have initiative. I have, the desire, and I'm going to hold myself accountable. But, for anybody out there that's like, I want this, I'm willing to put in the time that it takes. If you want to be a part of our full program, 12 weeks long, and get the accountability, get all the guidance, all the support, all the love, all the things, then we're also going to link that too, and the application to be a part of that. And really just, we want you to know that you have a friend in us. So share a message or send us a DM on Instagram if this resonated with you, or just if you have thoughts you want to share. Just know that we are ears and shoulders and all the things. So we love you guys. And I guess, Maggie, I'll kick it over to you to final words.
Yeah, and just gonna, kind of add the cherry on top. You're not alone. You don't have to do it alone. And that's what Annie and I really are here for. So even if it's just a friendly chat in DMs to tell us how you're feeling, what this episode brought up within you, let us know. And then, of course, please take us up on the tools. We designed these with you in mind, with, putting ourselves in those initial stages. What did we need in those moments? What messages did we need to hear? How did we need to connect with ourselves? We have reverse engineered the heck out of all of our TSE systems. And please listen to the heartstrings that are being tugged. Give it a little look over, experiment with these items, and who knows, in a few months' time, you could be living in a whole new inner world, inner environment, confidence, inner trust, loving yourself, and your external environment will reflect that. So we're sending you so much love, virtual hugs, smoochies. We'll talk to you soon. That's OJ in the kitchen.
Bye, you guys.